Hello there. So what we are looking at in this video is a 2025 re-review of the Edel Toys Spinosaurus. Now this was a figure that at the time that I received it, I paid $800 for this figure, which was astronomical, but it did result in a video that was one of my most popular videos on my channel, and it gave me a very good opportunity to actually review this figure. So ultimately it ended up working out okay, I guess, at the end of the day, but I have to say, guys, I do not recommend getting this figure before we even get into the review, but I'm going to break down exactly why, because I'm sure looking at it, you're pretty impressed with the sculpt and the paint job and everything else, but we're going to discuss it in this video. If you guys enjoy this kind of content, consider subscribing, and let's get into it.
The Atomic Fair.
So quickly here, I am going to take the camera and run it down the Hammond or the Edel Toys Spinosaurus so you can actually see the sculpt on this thing and just how good it actually looks when you first look at it. But what happens here with this figure is because of the paint and the sort of brittle plastic that they use, not only does the figure get worn down over time, but even worse than that, there is a lot of paint chipping going on with this figure, and I'll show you some stuff like that. You can kind of see it here on the top of his head. You can see it there on the top of his sail, and then also on the top of his neck. There's already some pieces that have chipped, along with down there on the foot. There is some major cracking along the sculpt on the bottom of the foot of this figure, which you can see very well here. And then even worse right here, you can actually see a major crack in the Edel Toys Spinosaurus foot. And then on top of that, I can hardly even move this guy around. You can kind of move him here at the hands a little bit. You can move him a little bit here on the neck. But if you see just like that, it doesn't take very much for this figure to ultimately come apart. To be honest, guys, that is a major drawback on this figure, whereas the years have gone on, and I have only had this thing for like 3 years, which as you get older, you realize 3 years isn't that much time. And I assume another 3 to 4 years of having this figure, and it'll barely even be able to stand. It can't even really stand now without having that additional stand there below it, without it falling over. And it doesn't fall over right away. You can get it to stay in a static position, but over time, it will eventually start to lean over before it ultimately does fall. So when you look at this figure, like I said, at first glance, it does look absolutely incredible, and it is a really amazing sculpt, and it's a really solid display piece. You can still do things like come down here and move the arms and things like that. You can move the arms around fairly well, but these knees, for example, I am very worried that if I try to bend them anymore, they're going to snap because the plastic has become so brittle. The material that the guy used to make this figure isn't ultimately that great. It's very stiff, and it's not something you would want to mass produce like the Hammond collection Spinosaurus. And ultimately, the worst and biggest deal breaker for this figure is something I'm going to warn you guys about, which is that it's hard to even get this fucking thing after you pay $800 for it, because I had to contact the guy multiple times. So this is the second figure I have. The first figure, which you can see in my first review back from 2022, has a slightly different paint job, but it touches on most of the same things as this one here. But the major difference is that that figure kind of fell apart on me. Even to get the first figure, I had to threaten him not only with legal action, but I was telling him that I was going to contact my bank and have them reverse the payment and file it as fraud, because he had not yet sent the figure out or even given me any updates after about 4 months or so. I got very impatient. So he did send the first one. I ultimately had to do a similar thing to get him to even respond, telling him that the one he sent me was broken, then I was going to have to send it back. And so honestly, guys, if you decide to get this figure, I don't even know that you are going to ultimately receive it in the mail. So be forewarned, if you decide to buy anything from this guy, that there's a big chance you may not even get the figure in the mail. But like I said, the sculpt is incredible since I do have it. I guess at the end of the day, I am somewhat happy that I purchased it just to simply review it. But if I didn't have a channel, I would have thought this thing was a huge waste of money, especially considering the mass-produced and better, more posable Hammond collection of Spinosaurus was coming out, in just a few years. So comment down below, let me know what you guys think about this 2025 update for the Edel Toys Spinosaurus. You can check out my original review for that figure down below, as well as my review for the Hammond collection Spinosaurus and my comparison between an $800 Edel Toys custom Spinosaurus and the $60 Hammond collection Spinosaurus. Spinosaurus. Let me know what you think about all that stuff. And for this video, guys, that is all I got. So until the next one, be safe and stay well. Bye-bye.